Hey Motley Crew, we're going to be doing this a little differently today. Going back to the original way I did this, I am currently traveling and I'm actually at my born family's home. And there's a lot going on here, so I'm just going to be on voice. So give your eyes some rest so you don't have to be looking at the screen. So as always, welcome to the Mott space. I am dibia nchedochukwu, pronouns are they, them, and I'm your host. Opening up this sacred space, I set the intention that I am a clear channel of the highest truth, with clarity rooted in love for the highest good of the collective today, that as you hear me and exist in energetic space with me, you may receive healing energy for the awakening, the alignment, the embodiment of your soul for your highest good, highest timeline, and highest life. Isa. So being here in my childhood home has been such an interesting experience for me, because usually being here, I feel so much angst and anxiety, and memories of the past come to the forefront of my mind. This is a place where the walls held so much abuse and thus subsequent trauma for me. And I would find myself slipping back into old habits, into addictions, into escapism. And this time is different, though. I have gone through an intense spiritual awakening and finishing off a spiritual ascension into coming into full alignment with my higher self and perfect harmony, mind, body, soul. And I feel this deep sense of love and peace and gratitude being here. I wanted to be able to come back to my childhood home and feel high on life, not on drugs, not on plant medicine. And I'm at that place where I am vibrating my energy in my body. It's such a high frequency that I am so full of light. I actually just finished cleansing my entire home and putting up an energy shield and protective shield around it, and transmuting I call it a demon, but I don't say demon in an evil, negative way, but it was an energy here that was feeding off of the fear, off of the anger, off of the hopelessness, off of the lies and deceit, off of the years and decades of harm here. And I just transmuted it into the light and made it an ally. And so the energy, yes, is feeling lighter. And I am in a place that I always wanted to be, where I could be in this home and feel peace. To feel peace. And so that is kind of an introduction to what we're going to be talking about today, of death. That in order for me to get here, I had to die. And I'm not talking about death in a macabre sense. In society, we think of death as this scary monster, skulls and crossbones, something to fear, something to not look at directly, something that no one wants. And yet it is death. Death. That is a crucial part of transformative change. Without death, we would be on the same treadmill again, over and over and over, with no reprieve, with no release from any habits and cycles and beliefs that have kept us stuck or small or in fear, or in places and spaces in life that life doesn't grow there. Death actually comes with love. Death is love. I know that may sound crazy, but in meeting death as a lover, we begin to understand how death works for us. How all death wants to do is bring us to another place, to help us transition from one to another. In the process of healing, and healing traumas and pains and letting go of people and things, death is there. It is the spirit of death that is there, the energy of death. And if you need more information about energy being a bridge to the unseen and the seen realm, bridge between the spiritual realm, check out the video I did on that. When we are able to meet death as lover, it can be with us in a gentle way, it can guide us gently. When you're on this path of living in harmony with your soul and being in embodied alignment to your truth, you have to be willing to die, to let old versions of self be released, to give those versions of self a compassionate death. And so when death comes to us in these moments in our lives, whether it be through your spiritual awakening, for most of us it is in the process of being called higher, to be called to truth, is what I like to be called. What I like to say the spiritual awakening is. It is called to truth, the truth that exists within you, that only exists and can be felt in the soul. Death is there. And death comes and says, okay, I'm here to take you to a different part of life, to a different cycle, a different way of being and seeing and relating to this thing called life. And so death tries to be gentle and comes with gentle, but it is us and our egos that hold on to what is, to what remains, to what we knew, to the comfort zone that exists. And in that process of holding on, we create the pain. And so death thus has to drag us, and it begins to hurt. This process of shedding and release doesn't have to be as painful as we think it does. It doesn't have to be. Again, it is human nature, right? To hold on to what feels safe, to feel what feels comfortable, to what feels secure. And so death, and remember, death comes with love. They want to bring us to a higher place. It wants to bring us to a higher place. It then has to pry our hands off. We're clutching so tight, and in the process of prying our hands off, there's pain. And that is not to ignore or dismiss the feelings of loss and grief that we experience when we allow parts of ourselves to die, when we experience death. It isn't easy. It doesn't feel good. But remember, death is there to help us transition, whether it be from this life to another, from one cycle to another, from one way of being to another, from a mindset to another. That is its role. And so I've been sitting with the energy of death because I had to get to know it very intimately in my journey, as becoming a dibia required that I died. The way of viewing and experiencing this world and life had to be let go. And now I'm in my born family home, and I'm sitting and I'm like, wow. So many iterations of self I had to go through to get here. Allow yourself to go through as many iterations as you need. As many transformations are required, and each transformation will require a death. and letting go. And death is scary, y'all. It's scary. The unknown, that transition state, it is dark. And I'm not saying dark as good or bad. I'm saying that the energy of it is dark. It is stillness. It is part of the dark night of the soul, the void that you experience. It is that death that is there. And it is there to bring you to the energy and spirit of life, of new beginning. Embracing death as lover means not allowing the fear of what is being lost to cloud over the process of what there is to gain. I thank each past version of myself, because that version of self allowed me to be here, because they didn't give up, even in spite of death and the fear. And so, even becoming a dibia and meeting death with love, there were many times where I'd have dreams about seeing death in my dream and the way I'd interact with it. And I was scared, y'all. I would be scared in my dreams. I'd run away. I would run away from death. And as my transformation occurred, I noticed that my interactions with death in the astral realm as I slept changed to this one recent one where I saw death as a part of my shadow self, this part of self. And I was just looking at this what looked like a dark entity. It was a scary looking energy, y'all. Death doesn't look, it's not sunshines and rainbows. It's not cute. Death isn't cute. And I was looking at it. It was dark. And I just started to say, I love you. I love you. I love you. And meet death with love. There was not fear. There was not an ounce of fear. I was able to face it. And in the process, and this is a little gruesome, y'all, took a knife and plunged it into my heart. I cut open my chest and removed the heart there was. And I started to panic at this point in my dream. I'm like, oh no, what did I just do? What did I just do? And it exchanged what it took out for another. And I was just so scared. But then I just kept returning back by, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I woke up knowing that my heart had been transformed permanently. And what death was doing was showing me that you have made it. You have purified your heart where you can meet fear with love, where you are no longer afraid of me and we are allies. And it was going through the process of removing any last tendrils on my path to ascension and to coming into full union with my higher self. It was then that I knew that death had no longer become this scary, dark entity, but one where I could see the ways in which it helped me. How is death seeking to help you in your life? And where can you meet it with more love and gratitude? It isn't an easy job, y'all. Some energy and spirit has to do this work to help us transition, and it is death that does it for us. And so I am grateful for death and the ways in which it has helped me transition over and over and over all the previous versions of self. Think about who you are now and who you've been in the past, and the many ways and myriad of ways in which you've showed up. And the many myriad of ways in which you've given yourself permission to transform. And when you transform, you cannot go back to where you were and who you were. We're not talking about change, y'all. We're talking about transformation. When you take one element, one thing, and it becomes another, but you cannot undo it. It's like taking all these different ingredients and throwing it into a pot and saying, I want the original ingredients. I'm sorry, it's been transformed. You have been transformed. You are being called to transformation. In the process of healing traumas and aligning yourself and living in harmony with your soul, there will be many deaths you will experience. And so the question then becomes, how do you engage with the spirit of death? Will you begin to see it as a lover? One that has your highest and best interest in mind? Or will you see it as another and hold on for dear life? Death and that energy and the spirit of death is very highly misunderstood. And it's a shame because as indigenous peoples, each one of us are indigenous and come from indigenous peoples, y'all. Our lineage of indigeneity far exceeds and surpasses that of our modernity, our modern life. Remember, humanity is hundreds of thousands of years old. And this thing called modern life is maybe a couple of hundreds. 1,000 at the oldest. We come from peoples who worshipped death and understood its due importance in our lives. Death embodied through the season of winter. The season of winter, which is so necessary in the cycle of life. It is crucial. And so we honored death and for the process of allowing us to be birthed into new life. Because after winter comes spring, and spring is new beginnings. And we are in the seasons of spring. And some of y'all are in the season of winter in spring. And so you have to be conscious and cognizant of what cycle and season you are in your life. There are some seasons of winter and death that last far greater than the seasons of time and of this world. But again, even if we aren't experiencing a season of winter, know that even on a smaller scale in our day-to-day lives, there are things that are being called to die. It's so interesting because in the process of developing remembering my spiritual abilities, my psychic abilities, intuitive abilities, whatever you want to call it, I joined a Facebook group for psychic and mediumship practice. And it's a beautiful thing that they exist. It's hard to find that community when you in the outside world of people who are trying to practice and remember their spiritual abilities and to strengthen them. And I was doing a reading connecting to a passed over loved one. I was channeling for a woman on there. And I was talking about the person who came forward for this individual was a friend who had passed. And, I'm, mentioning and giving more information about how they had passed and what they're telling me about their life. And one of the moderators of the group was like, we don't use the word died or death. We like to use softer words. Transitioned. And I found that to be so interesting Because it's just so that even in these groups, the way in which death is treated is as if it is too harsh. And I was being called to use a softer word to describe that which often doesn't feel soft, but can be. And that this view of death in not only this Western world, this Western centric world, and the modern world, is that it is just something that is a harsh thing that we have to be gentle and tiptoe around. And I don't have that perspective. Death can and is loving. And I'm not talking about death by violence or death in gruesome terms. I'm just talking about the pure energy of it. That when it comes to us initially, it wants to come with softness. When it comes to us, it wants to come with ease. It is through our very own efforts that we meet death that makes it feel harsh, like a punishment. And I'm not even here talking about what happens when we physically leave our bodies. When this body shuts down and our soul then transitions to another realm of being. I'm just talking about here the pure energy of death. That when I was getting actually acquainted with the energy and the spirit of death, I would actually call in the spirit itself and direct that energy toward a specific thing I was trying to let go. I would ask it to be with me as I let go my addictions, as I let go my habits, knowing that it was more than willing, death is more than willing to help us if we're able to call it in an appropriate way, that energy and that spirit. Now, you can use the energy of spirit of death in harmful ways, right? We're talking about using this energy in a way of light and helping us fully embody our truth, our soul, to live in harmony with all of who we are and in the world. And so when you see death as lover, as helper, you begin to be able to use this energy for your transformation, for your highest good, and to ask it to come in with ease. To meet it with love. Death is personified in many cultures, ancient cultures in many ways. One of my first experiences with this energy was actually through one of the first deities, goddesses that I worked with, that showed up for me. Kali Ma. Kali Ma is a Hindu goddess of time, destruction, death, transformation. Shown with many arms, the color blue skin, with a tongue sticking out of her mouth, and in her hand, one of her hands, holding a human head, severed. Human head representing ignorance, illusion, the ego. At the beginning of my really intense spiritual awakening, intense Kundalini awakening, intense dibia initiation, intense starseed, light work, earth angel recognition and awakening and remembering. She came to me to help me transform and let go of the many layers of ego keeping me an illusion from who I truly was, who I am. Kali also means the light. Through the death We are brought to the light. It is through going through the dark we are able to experience light. And so, in working with her, I began to embody not only the energies that she carries, but see the way in which destruction, which is so necessary in the process of embodying truth, right? Imagine you trying to be in truth and everything that is not aligned is just there as well. It has to be let go. It has to be destroyed with love. And so seeing destruction, death, as not some harbinger of evil, but a necessity for good, of love. Halima is fierce, but also loving. And she doesn't destroy for harm. She destroys to let go any and everything, mindset, people, beliefs, parts, past energies, that is keeping one aligned and within the confines of illusion. Are you who you say you are? Or are you who you are? Death allows us the transition from one cycle to another, from one being to another. We know that in the process of death, symbolized by the tower in tarot, that it hurts. There is pain, there is grief, there is loss. When we allow ourselves to be lovingly embraced and held in the transition, we come out on the other side. You can come out on the other side. Better. More true, more you, more whole, and more peace and love. Where are you being called in your life to allow death in as a lover? How can you embrace this energy, not with trepidation or fear, but with love and gratitude that it has come to visit you to bring you higher? It took many deaths for me to sit on this bottom bunk of my sister's bed in her room and stare at this wall and just smile. Smile and just be so happy and at peace. That my inner child is healed. We are in harmony. They feel safe and secure within me. And that this home no longer holds any emotional or mental distress or weight on me. That I can engage with my born family from a place of not only peace and love, but from power. I'm not talking about power over, but power within. Of truth. With no need to escape or seek a reprieve through external things. Because that wounding within me has been healed. took to get here. And so it will take you many. It will. And there'll be times where you may question if the process is worth it. The tears, the grief, the loss. And I'm here to tell you that it is. And to give love and gratitude to those previous versions of selves that have existed for you to be here, for you to come this far. To send that back into time with your energy now. Gosh. It's like these tears are tears of deep gratitude and just pure bliss. I didn't know what here would be or how it'd feel or what it would look like. And now, sitting on the other side, I know y'all. I'm telling y'all, embrace it. The deaths that come. With that, I'm going to close off differently today. I feel called to do some light language and to call in the spirit of death with the intention that it is directed to any part of your life in which you are ready to release, to let go, to transform. Let it be with you in that sense. As always, when it comes to channeling light language and calling in a spirit, you try to be as open-headed and minded as possible, because when there's resistance, you're going to be fighting this spirit and this energy. If you don't want this spirit to be with you, to help you with love, with ease in the transition, I would suggest you click off now. Click off. Exit out. Close the app. But if you are ready for this transformation, for this change, for death to guide you with ease and be with you, be open. I call in the spirit of death. For the collective today, may you be with them as they transition and transform what is needed right now for them to embody, to align, and to live in harmony with their soul, their mind, and their body. For them to awaken to the truth of who they are, for them to heal fully and completely, rooted in love and with ease for their highest Good. Yo tiela tieka. Hiena tiekoye, tiekoye, tiekoye. Hie koyo, iekayana. Hiekaya, 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 hiekaya. Yella, 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 yeah, 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 na, yeah, kaya. Yella, yella, yeah, 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 kaya. Yena, yeah, kaya. Yena, yeah, kaya. Yena, yena, yeah, 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 kayana, yeah, kayana. Yena, yeah, kayana. Yena. Yena yetia yana tio. Yena yetia yana tieka. Yena yetia na yatieka. Yena. Yena yena tia yana. Yena yana na tieka ya. Yena yena na tie na ya. And so it is. I'm going to close off this space today. Allowing yourself to be. Drink water, please. Hydrate yourself. Know that if you are open and we're open to receiving, these energies are going to be working with you. The energy and the spirit of death to guide you to be with you with ease and love in your transformation. You may feel changes in your energy, in dreams, in your waking life. Do know that this is a part of the process. That with death, there is release, there is shedding. Those of us with uteri know that there is also pain and loss and grief, but allow yourself to move through these emotions, to release, knowing that death isn't here to harm you. And is helping you to be free of that which is no longer aligned. As always, y'all, thank you for being here with me in this space, in this time, and existing with me. I don't take it for granted. With love and peace.